I've avoided talking about this for years. People ask me about work, about plans, about the future, and those questions are easy to answer. But there's one question I've avoided, one topic I've never felt ready to discuss publicly until now. What does love actually mean to me? Leave a comment saying, "Love," if you want to hear what took me 53 years to understand about the most important thing in life. For most of my life, I thought I knew what love was. I thought it was a feeling, that rush of excitement when you meet someone, that intense attraction, that desire to spend time with another person. I thought love was something that happened to you, like catching a cold or winning the lottery. I was completely wrong. It took me 3 failed marriages, strained relationships with my children, and years of feeling successful in every area except the one that actually matters to understand what love really is. Love isn't a feeling. Feelings come and go. They're unreliable, changeable, dependent on circumstances and moods and 1,000 factors beyond your control. Love is a choice, a daily choice. A choice you make especially when the feelings aren't there. Let me tell you how I learned this. 5 years ago, I was at my lowest point emotionally, professionally successful, personally isolated. I had everything the world says you're supposed to want, and I felt empty in a way that scared me. I called my mother one night, not because I needed advice, but because I needed to talk to someone who knew me before I became this public figure everyone has opinions about. We talked for 2 hours about nothing important. Family memories, small things from my childhood, stories I'd heard 100 times. And as we talked, something shifted in me. My mother is in her 70s now. She's not perfect. She made mistakes raising us, made choices I didn't always understand or agree with. But she showed up. Every day of my childhood, every day of my adult life, she showed up. Not perfectly, but consistently. That night I finally understood what she'd been demonstrating my entire life. Love is showing up. It's that simple and that difficult. After that call, I started paying attention to the people in my life who I considered loving. Not people who said they loved me, but people whose actions demonstrated it. I noticed patterns. The people who genuinely loved me weren't the ones who only appeared when things were good. They were the ones who showed up when things were hard, who called when I was difficult, who stayed when it would have been easier to leave. One of my children, I won't say which one, went through a period where they wanted nothing to do with me. Understandable given how much I'd been absent during their growing up years, prioritizing work over presence. Every week for 18 months, I sent a message, just a simple text, thinking about you. I'm here when you're ready. No pressure, no guilt, no demands for response, just consistent presence, even in absence. Most weeks, no response. Some weeks, a one-word reply. It hurt. I wanted to give up to protect my ego, to say fine, if they don't want a relationship, that's their choice. But love isn't about protecting your ego. Love is showing up anyway. After 18 months, I got a longer message. Can we talk? We talked awkwardly at first, then more honestly than we ever had before. Our relationship isn't perfect now, but it exists. And it exists because I finally learned that love means showing up even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's not reciprocated immediately, even when your ego is bruised. That's the first thing I've learned about love. It's not a feeling. It's a commitment to show up. The second thing I learned is harder to admit. For years, I confused love with need. I thought I loved people when really I needed them, needed their approval, needed their admiration, needed them to make me feel good about myself. That's not love. That's using people to fill a hole inside yourself. Real love doesn't need anything from the other person. It gives freely without keeping score, without expecting return on investment. I had to face this with brutal honesty. How many relationships had I entered because I needed something from the other person? How often had I called it love when it was really just need disguised in romantic language? A friend of mine, someone I've known for 20 years, told me something that changed my perspective completely. He said, "Elon, you only seem interested in people when they're useful to you. The moment someone can't give you something you need, you disappear." That was hard to hear. My first instinct was to defend myself, to explain all the valid reasons I'd been busy or unavailable. But the truth behind his words was undeniable. I thought about my relationships, romantic, familial, friendships. How many had I neglected when those people couldn't offer me something I needed? How often had my presence been conditional on what I was getting in return? Love doesn't work that way. Love is unconditional presence, even when the other person has nothing to give you, even when the relationship doesn't serve your immediate needs. I started practicing this intentionally, reaching out to people not because I needed something but just to connect, showing up for others when there was nothing in it for me, being present for people going through difficult times when they had nothing to give back. It felt strange at first, unnatural, like I was doing something without purpose. But gradually I understood this is what love actually is. Not transaction, but gift. Not need, but generosity. The third thing I learned about love is perhaps the most surprising. Love isn't about big gestures or grand declarations. It's about small, consistent acts of attention and care. I used to think love was proved through big things, expensive gifts, dramatic gestures, life-changing sacrifices. I thought if I could just do enough big, impressive things, that would prove I loved someone. But I missed all the small moments, the daily conversations, the simple presence, the unglamorous work of actually paying attention to another person's life. One of my children once told me, "Dad, I don't need you to do big things. I just need you to remember what I told you yesterday about what's happening in my life." That hit me hard. I had been so focused on being impressive, on making up for my absence with grand gestures, that I wasn't doing the basic work of love, paying attention, remembering, showing that what matters to them matters to me. I started keeping notes after conversations with the people I care about, not in a weird, calculated way, but just to help me remember what they mentioned they were worried about, what they were excited about, what small thing was happening in their life. Then I'd follow up simple messages. "How did that meeting go? Did you finish that project? Hope you're feeling better today." The responses surprised me. People weren't impressed by these small gestures, but they felt seen. They felt like I was actually present in their lives, not just performing occasional appearances. That's when I understood love is attention. Consistent, genuine attention to another person's reality. The fourth thing I learned is the hardest one I'm still working on. Love requires vulnerability. Real vulnerability. Not the performed kind that looks impressive but keeps people at a safe distance. I've built my entire adult life around not being vulnerable, being strong, capable, in control, never showing weakness, never admitting uncertainty, never letting people see behind the competent exterior. But that kind of strength is actually a wall. It keeps people out. It prevents the kind of intimacy that real love requires. A woman I dated briefly told me, "I feel like I'm worth a performance, not a person. You never let me see you struggle or doubt or fail. That doesn't make me admire you more. It makes me feel lonely with you." She was right. I was so busy maintaining an image of strength that I wasn't allowing actual connection. Real love requires letting people see you. Really see you. Not just the successful parts or the impressive parts, but the uncertain parts, the struggling parts, the parts that aren't figured out. This terrifies me. It still terrifies me. Every instinct screams to protect myself, to maintain control, to only show the parts of myself I can be proud of. But I'm learning slowly, painfully, that love is impossible without risk. And the risk of being seen, really seen, is the price of genuine connection. I started small with close friends, with my children, with people I trusted, admitting when I was uncertain, sharing when I was struggling, letting them see me have emotions I couldn't control or problems I couldn't immediately solve. The world didn't end. People didn't lose respect for me. In fact, the opposite happened. They felt closer to me. They felt like they finally knew me. Not just the public figure, but the actual person. That's what I'm still learning about love. It requires showing up as you actually are, not as you wish you were or as you think you should be. Here's what all of this has taught me about what love actually means. Love is not a feeling, though feelings are often involved. Love is a choice to show up consistently for another person, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's uncomfortable, even when the feelings aren't there. Love is not need, though we often confuse the two. Love is giving without requiring return, being present without expecting reciprocation. Caring about someone's well-being independent of what they can do for you. Love is not grand gestures, though those can be part of it. Love is small, consistent attention. Remembering what matters to someone. Following up on the details of their life. Being present in ordinary moments. Love is not strength and control. Love is vulnerability. It's letting yourself be seen, really seen with all your imperfections and uncertainties. It's risking rejection by showing up as you actually are. I'm 53 years old and I'm just now beginning to understand what love actually is. That might seem sad. All those wasted years, all those failed relationships, all those misconnections, but I don't see it that way anymore. I see it as learning. Painful learning, expensive learning, but learning nonetheless. For those of you watching this who are my age or older, you might relate to this journey. You might have spent years confusing love with need, or thinking love was just a feeling, or believing grand gestures proved love. Or maybe you figured this out decades ago, and you're watching this thinking, finally, he gets it. Either way, here's what I want to share with you. It's never too late to learn what love actually means. Never too late to start showing up differently for the people you care about. Never too late to choose vulnerability over performance, consistency over grand gestures, giving over needing. The people in your life, your children, your spouse, your friends, your family, they don't need perfect love. They need honest love. They need you to show up, pay attention, be vulnerable, and keep trying even when you mess up. Because here's the secret about love that took me too long to learn. Nobody loves perfectly. Everyone fails at it regularly. The question isn't whether you'll fail at loving well. You will. The question is whether you'll keep showing up anyway. My mother, who taught me about showing up, isn't perfect. She made mistakes, but she kept showing up, and that mattered more than any mistake she made. My children, who I failed in so many ways, are teaching me that it's never too late to start showing up better. They're not asking for perfection. They're asking for consistency, attention, vulnerability. The people in your life are probably the same. They don't need you to suddenly become perfect at loving well. They need you to keep trying, to keep showing up, to keep being honest about where you're failing and committed to doing better. That's what love means to me now. Not perfection, but persistence. Not flawless demonstration, but honest effort. Not avoiding failure, but showing up anyway. If you're struggling in relationships, romantic, familial friendships,